Yes.
There we go. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Village of Ruidoso Workforce Housing Advisory Board. We'll call this meeting to order. I see online that we have Clayton and Nathan. Thank y'all for joining. Stephanie, do you want to take roll call?
Member Oberhue?
Present.
Member Allred?
Present.
Member Brooks? I'm sorry, this is very outdated. Okay, so that would be Member Dowd?
Present.
Member Kinnon?
Here.
Member Russ?
Here.
Member Thomas?
Present.
Okay. Absent is Member Meeks. Also present is Stephanie for the Village of Ruidoso, and we are anticipating Michael to join us shortly.
Okay, thank you. Declarations of conflict of interest. Does anybody have anything they need to declare? Seeing none, then certification of compliance resolution 2024-01.
I do certify that the meeting was posted in accordance with resolution 2024-01.
All right, terrific. You have before you the proposed agenda and look for a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda.
I have a motion.
Second.
And a second. Any discussion about the agenda? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Then we will take that as unanimous consent. You have also before you the minutes of the last meeting of March 28th before you. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
I move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Deborah motions. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And I have a second. Any discussion about the minutes of the previous meeting?
It's been so long ago.
Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Seeing none, then the minutes of the previous meeting will stand approved. All right, moving on to new business, update and discussion of 9% tax credit application. Stephanie, are you prepared to talk about that?
I unfortunately am not.
We need Michael?
He is logging on as we speak.
Okay.
He just texted. Because I am not sure what y'all have been updated before, so I'm gonna tell you the wrong stuff.
If he sounds as bad as he did on Tuesday when I talked to him, he might not be able to understand. Clayton, I hope you're doing okay. You look okay, what little bit I can see up there. I hear you're
Gotta really
under the
squint.
weather.
I am, but I am quickly improving.
Good, good. I told Brad Treptow today that I think he and I are having a race to see who can catch COVID the most between the two of us and stuff. So I think he's one up on me right now, but just barely if he is, so.
We're at 4 or 5 somewhere in
Well, I
there.
haven't caught it lately, so, but I've
We can pass it, right?
been
That's
around
since April,
enough,
huh,
so.
Todd?
It's
Time.
I'm trying to think when the last time I had it, so.
Busy at the chamber.
I get it every time. Like, I mean, I'm at
I
least
swear
5
I do.
times.
Well, I think I've had 4, so I think Brad just got the 5th one, so anyway.
The last time it was gone in a day, that was amazing too.
I've heard some people have.
Good news is we just don't see people getting quite sick.
Thank
I
God.
do have somebody in the hospital right now with it, but it's not
Just
very
out of precaution.
We're having our art festival this weekend, so
They're still
we're
lost,
hoping.
shortness of breath.
My
And
usher's working on
They said this
Saturday.
one's a lot more like the cold, this new one.
have tickets to give away.
that's what they've been at least lately, so,
Sure, I'll
so
give
anyway.
tickets away. I'll give tickets
You
away.
want 'em?
Yeah,
I have 6.
great.
Charles brought them by, and I've already bought my ticket, so.
Yeah, I'm right in that middle ground where I want to wait for the new vaccination, but I should almost be getting it right now too, because I'm doing a lot of traveling in the next few weeks, so I don't know what
Well,
to
and
do.
and like I said, it's around right now for
Yep,
sure.
but
so.
April was when I had it last, so I'm still
Yeah,
right
you're
there.
probably
I know.
okay,
That's
so.
what I mean. I know. I might as well wait for the new one.
Oh, yeah. So, well, when school starts, we'll know how many families have left and how many kids.
Tahoe for 8 days.
Yeah.
We're going in a week, so.
Next week,
It'll
we
be the
have
same as here, but at least
kids' college. And
change of
we have
scenery, I
90
guess.
that are registered.
Where you going? Lake
Oh, yeah.
Tahoe? Oh,
Hopefully.
yeah.
That'll be good for them.
Well, at least you don't have to go up
Well,
and
I
look
did
up on
Peace
the hill.
Village last
Right.
week, and the kids, you know, they loved it.
Sorry to hear about your
Yeah,
house.
thank you.
But,
Where are you staying at? Just at another place or?
At River Crossing right now,
Oh,
so we got a nice little place on the river. We've been relaxing and trying to,
okay,
and then I own another condo at Aspen Run at the Cree Meadows Golf Course.
okay.
So that's what we're working to move into
yeah, a lot of,
for a minute.
they were saying a lot of scammers are starting to come in.
That's what worries me,
Mm-hmm.
is the scammers. Some of them, you know, they're not all scammers, but I heard somebody had posted on Facebook that they were willing to help
Blessed
businesses
to have
set
State
up a
Farm,
website
lucky me.
to sell stuff on their business, and I was
They've been
like,
taking
oh,
care
you
of
guys need to be.
You know, I hear it both ways. I hear that they've been
Get to help
good
you
and
set
they've
up
been,
a
and I'm
website,
like,
Cause you could lose
anyway,
everything.
so.
Yeah.
I think it's harder with the more
And for the first time
complicated.
I heard somebody complain about USAA.
I never have heard that yet.
I heard it yesterday
Wow.
for the
You
first
kidding me?
time, so.
A girl that I know that worked on, what is it?
We're all live, you guys know
Americans
that.
First. They said they had the best reports from people who said USAA paid.
Michael's
too.
having
That's
a
what
hard
I've heard.
time with the link, so I'm
Completely with
texting
that,
him the
so,
phone
but
number
that,
to log in.
that was odd for me to hear that.
Yeah,
one.
so many people were like, they paid us with no question.
Oh, yeah. Well, Monday when the fire started, they emailed us immediately, called us and said, whatever you need,
Really?
USAA, yeah.
I got an email from my insurance company on the 4th of July that said, happy 4th of July.
Well, I understand State Farm is the
Here, I'm just
clients are
gonna
having
try and
a
call
big
him.
time.
Well, James just said he had great service from
No, I
him.
was telling you.
Oh, you were
Without saying anything, right?
Oh, I got you. Sorry, I misinterpreted that, so.
I
Okay,
can't complain. I know, I've just heard all the horror stories, and then the first adjuster I ended up with was brand new, green as could be, and I was coaxing him through everything. No, you gotta add this needs to be on there. He's like, what's a drip edge to a roof? I'm just like, oh my God. You know, I'm already distressed from losing my house, and I gotta explain the construction.
yeah, that's a little tough, so.
What about this $100 million grant that they just approved for us here in the village?
Well, it's not all for here, so it's, but what the mayor said was it's 70 million for here, but it's split between all the government, between Mescalero, Ruidoso, the Downs, and the county. So,
The
And
county
it's
too.
to pay for the stuff that FEMA would otherwise pay for.
well, we're gonna hope Michael's, I'm not gonna
Michael's
say,
on.
cause I think Michael will,
Hold on, I got him on speaker here for
Good.
you guys.
okay.
Okay, Michael,
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm sorry that's not working very well.
Okay, well, I'm glad to have you. I'm glad you sound better than what you sounded on Tuesday, so.
Well, sounded a little bit better. I just took another test and it still comes up positive, so I'm still stuck in the cabin.
Well, Michael, we are up to update and discussion of the 9% tax credit application. If you could give us an update on that.
Can you all hear me?
Yes.
I don't think he can hear us, so.
we are ready for the discussion on a 9% tax credit application.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, I can barely hear the other group. I can't sometimes. So, just on the 9% tax credit application. So the updated.
Hold on just a second, Michael, just a second. I'm moving you over here to me, so, okay. All right, you're good.
Perfect. Okay, so just on the 9% tax credit application, so as you all know, that 9% tax credit had been awarded. We've been working with the contractor. Him and I just had a call at the middle of last week. He hopes to have people on the ground in the next 2 weeks. We have been having ongoing meetings with NMDOT on right-of-way access. We've had ongoing meetings with local providers and entities for utilities to make sure that those are addressed ahead of time. And so we are moving forward with most of the initial process to get that rolling so that they can break ground hopefully in the next 3 weeks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow.
Okay. And this is the property over by P&M, correct?
Correct.
Okay, great. That's terrific. Okay.
Any questions on that?
Anybody have any questions on that? How many units is that going to be, Michael?
72 total units.
Okay.
And initially there was 6 buildings. I believe he's looking at 4 instead, just for cost effectiveness and ease of layout on utility installations. But they'll be giving us the diagram design, and concept on what that looks like, so that we can bring that back.
Okay, terrific.
Will they be a 3-story or 2-story?
I believe those are going to be 2-story, but I can double check.
Okay.
Okay, that's good news. All right, 3 weeks, that's a lot sooner than I was expecting.
Me too, me
So,
too. Good job.
That's great. Okay, any other questions on the 9%? All right, then let's go to the 603 Meacham development.
So we've been actively working on that. Some of you may have seen that one of our houses is actually already here in the parking lot of the convention center. The reason it's sitting there and not on one of the pads is that it's been way too muddy to move the house into the area. It would sink, and then we'd have a bigger problem on our hands. What I can say is that since the disaster, the governor's been on the ground. She's supposed to be on the ground again tomorrow to visit the area. But basically what we've been told is that the monies have been awarded. We've had an extension because of the disaster on this, and so we can continue to move forward in a timely manner. And so what we've been doing is we've just been waiting for the rains to calm down. If it does not rain like it's supposed to on Saturday, you'll see the house at the convention center and a second house being placed, and a third house or a third foundation being poured. So 2 foundations are currently poured right now, and we're just waiting on the homes. The homes are all complete. They're moving to try and get these in place. We have had some back and forth on designs with P&M. There's been a changeover in engineers. I got off a call this morning about what some of those issues are. P&M has some very strict standards related to their electrical components. And so there is some issues with the HUD component that was used for the electrical box versus what P&M standard is. And so they're working that out. We think we have a quick resolution, and it'll be done before any of the houses come back in. So we should be okay. But we are moving on that project as well. Our goal initially, obviously, was to have them done by June 31st, pending rain. Because of the fire that was obviously delayed, we had 7 homes ready to go as of the 16th that were going to hit the ground the day that the fire actually started. But because of the issues, because of everything that happened, we had to stop on what we were doing. You can partially see if you go onto the site, 2 of the foundations laid, a third that's open, and 2 others that were being worked on. Within that time frame, they thought they could get to 4 total foundations and be able to set the homes. But we're not there yet, obviously, due to the delay of the fire and now of the rains. But we're hoping to move that quickly within the next month or so, pending rain.
Okay. And remind us again how many units are going in there?
That's going to be 10 units. It's going to be 8 3-bedroom units and 2 2-bedroom units.
8 3-bedroom?
Yes. And 2 2-bedroom. Okay.
I went and peeked in the windows at the one that's over at the convention center. I think it's going to be nice. It looks really nice.
Good. I actually didn't know what that was,
Yeah.
so I probably should have known, but I did know that, so.
So I've had a question from people on what is considered an affordable rent? What qualifies them or disqualifies them?
So with these dollars, there is not a qualifying component as far as wage is concerned. Now, if they, that means they won't, if they make too much, they won't get disqualified. We still will have to go through what our regular process is, or what the management company's regular process is on a credit check to see if they can afford the home. But we believe that the controlled rent that we're looking at is between $900 and $1,100 for those items. They may fluctuate $100 up or down. And then an individual would still have to file their application to live in the facility. They'd still get the credit checks to see if they qualify. And if they do qualify, then they can move in, and there's no limit to income that can be limited. There is a restriction on whether they work within the village or not, and not village employees, but the village limits. So if they do any type of workforce, then they can qualify to live there as well.
So this may not be part of it, but Meacham Meadows, did any one of those renters lose their jobs, and do we give exceptions to them?
Did you hear that question, Michael?
I kind of heard it. From what I heard was, did any one of them lose their jobs?
Yes, that's what she asked.
And do we give exceptions? So I guess I'm not 100% sure on what the question is on losing their job. Do we mean if someone lost their job locally?
Because of the fire or the flooding, and, are they going to be able to continue to live there?
Because of the fire or the flooding, will they be able to continue to live in those if they lost their employment? Or are we going to give them a grace period? Has there been talk about that?
Understood. So, no, we haven't talked about that. Now, with that being said, and that actually goes into our D discussion, but I can update generally on what that is. So FEMA has identified individuals that have lost homes. There's roughly 200, well, let me rephrase that. So there's been roughly 890 applications that have been filed with the state and federal government for some type of housing assistance. Of those 857, the qualifying groups is roughly about 400. What that means is that the majority of this other 400 are secondary homeowners that aren't living primarily within their residence here in the village of Ruidoso or within the county of Lincoln. And so of those 400, several have asked for rental assistance, and they've received some level of assistance, whether it's hotel rentals, initially, or whether it's immediate rentals. I believe we have about 120 people or qualifying families that are staying in different hotels within the region. And then on top of that, those individuals will qualify for assistance for housing. And so what we have is those individuals will basically receive some level of assistance for 18 months. It could be extended for 24 to 36 months if the federal government deems it necessary. That would assist with some type of rental assistance that would cover certain amounts. Now, the numbers I saw yesterday in our housing meeting with the feds and the state is, for a one bedroom, they're looking to give roughly $600. For a two bedroom, about $900, and for a three bedroom, roughly $1,300. I pushed back significantly and basically said those are not what the going rates are within the community. The state quickly jumped in and said we will sign the letter requesting an increase of between 100% to 500% of that, so that they can qualify for higher rental rates. The problem with that is they're going through like apartments.com and local renter components and that nature. what we've seen is there's only about 20 long-term rentals that are available that fall into that category. A lot of the short-term rentals are not being considered, or a lot of the homes that are on like long-term VRBO rentals and things of that nature are not being considered either, because those are going for, I think I saw something that showed a 900 or 1,000 square foot home, 1 to 2 bedroom, that's going for like 1950 or something like that. So they're quickly trying to adjust to those components. We're sending them a list of all the short-term rentals that we have and costs over the last year of what those properties were at and what that works out to from a monthly payment if someone decides to go, so that they can get a better understanding of what a regular monthly rent would be.
Michael, this is James Russ. You know, we have a list from the Realtor Association of all the rentals as well, if that helps at all.
Yes, we will probably want to get that list from you quickly, so that if you could email it to me or if I can request it, because they are asking for that list. And they only had 8 properties that they could identify, or 10, I think, within the region that were long-term rentals.
Yeah, and then, I think that's it. The rate that we're seeing, you know, an average, I heard from State Farm, it was 5,500 is average, but I would say it's closer to 4,500 is what people are paying for rents for 2 and 3 bedrooms, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on the Meacham Drive? We kind of went into the disaster housing, which will,
Sorry.
so that's okay. Discussion on grants.
So we have actually received, and they're pending right now. And the reason they're pending is because the state put them into a pending hold for us because of the disaster. We had originally received 2 other $1 million grants, or were being awarded possibly. That was so that we could do updates to 1114 Meacham. That would include some watershed management and debris flows on that area. Now, because of the fire, that'll probably significantly help us in certain areas. But again, that grant has been postponed slightly. There was another housing grant that was postponed that we had received that was related to upgrades and to facade development within our current facilities. So that would have been 1114 and 603 that would have qualified for those. And that also would have done some level of control for what we're seeing with a lot of the flooding. Prior to that, it would have been for like rain control or water management, but it'll be readjusted and reevaluated now with the current issues that we're facing. But those are the 2 grant updates. Any other questions on those?
Nope, doesn't appear to be. All right, disaster housing, anything more? I've got a couple of things on this one that I'll share with you, so, but anything, Michael, you want to add on disaster housing beyond what you already talked about?
Sure. So I've been placed on a disaster housing task force related to the feds and the state component. We've aggressively been pushing for direct housing. That's something that we were granted recently. In the timeline and the scheme of things, from what's happened in other disasters, we're relatively operating much faster than any other entity. But it's not fast enough, unfortunately. And so what we're seeing is that our request is we believe that with direct housing, we should see something on the ground in the next 5 to 6 months. Now, that's difficult because most of our individuals need homes now. And so what we've seen, at least on the flooding component, is we've lost about 400 homes and possibly more. On the fire side, we've probably lost about 750 homes. With the 750 homes that we've lost, we believe that roughly 200 to 220 are really local residents. So altogether, we think there's been about 700 homes that have been lost. But we've only had a request of roughly like I mentioned, about 400 people. Now that changes weekly with the flood components happening, because someone could lose their home tomorrow that was safe last week, right? And so we're actively trying to get out the message. If you are impacted by the floods, please, 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 let us know. Please file for assistance if you need it, so that we can get those kinds of assistance. And that's what we've been working on.
So that number's significantly different than what the county reported. The county reported to me they verified 879?
Yeah, something 67, 79.
Yeah, something like that. Homes have been destroyed or lost at this point. So your numbers, but I'm wondering if they're not taking into account all the mobile homes in like Cherokee and those places. Do you think that's what the difference is?
So we should be getting the same numbers. How many? So, and maybe they're broken up differently. Those are village numbers that I'm giving you,
Yeah.
not necessarily county numbers.
Well, I would think the county would be higher because that's Cedar Creek and all those areas on top of what the village is, so.
Yes. So we have what we know, and now they may have gotten an updated number in the last couple of days because I'm out with COVID, sitting in a cabin working from my phone. So they may have gotten an updated list, but what we had identified as of last week was 1,400 structures. Of those structures, they had reported some roughly like 900 homes that were in the county and the village together. I know we had probably seen, and we hadn't gotten a total count, but the 400 homes in the flood is what we were looking at. And so that's where our numbers had come from. They may have done assessments since the weekend and gotten new numbers. And so they could definitely have gone down. Hopefully that's a good thing, because that means there was less destruction than we thought, or less homes lost than we thought. But we had thought that we had lost the majority of what was coming down Brady Canyon and into that area, and then some more homes off of Cedar Creek.
Okay. Well, Randall, I wouldn't say Randall was 100% confident on that number. That's just the number that he had received so far from the assessor's office when I talked to him yesterday, so. Do what?
Same what I've been hearing, what you
Yeah,
said.
so, okay. What else, Michael, on that?
Yeah, that's roughly where we're at. We've been going back and forth with direct housing with FEMA and the state, what our best options are. So right now we have two things in front of us. Direct housing is the component that we're arguing for, which is basically the FEMA homes that get placed onto the ground, and you create a small community. The three options that FEMA provides us is basically, one, you get your regular assistance, which people are taking advantage of now. Two, your midterm homes, which are usually like the trailer homes that you can park inside of our regular RV parks, and utilize those. But for families, and they have tons of those, but for families of 2 or 3 or more, those are usually used for like 1 or 2 people. The people that we believe have been impacted have larger family units, and so they don't necessarily work. And so that's why we've been advocating for FEMA homes to be dropped here. And we were given that ability. We were awarded direct housing last week, and we've been moving aggressively on it. But again, we've been told that we probably won't see those units for 5 to 7 months. And the way those units work is they're only good for 18 months after the declaration date. And so that we're already a month behind on that. So we'd be getting those homes for roughly 17 months. And if they're not here for 5 or 7 months, then we'd get them for 12 or 11 or 10 months, only for people to live in them. Now, there are possible extensions to that, but it's dependent on what the feds see fit. So we're trying to get homes. Our internal deadline was, how do we get homes here in 60 days? And so that's what we've been aggressively working towards.
Okay. I've been in contact and actually spoke with FEMA again this morning. One piece of property they're considering is the hospital's Nob Hill property up there as the location. We're willing to talk about that as a possibility. So I think they could put he said he thinks they could put 30 units up there if they do something there, so.
Okay, if they put these units there, what all do they need to hook up to?
Well, they'll do all the infrastructure, what he told me is all the infrastructure is above ground infrastructure, but of course, that it should have stubbed out sewer, I don't know, but I assume it does in water. So they should be able to connect into, because the school used to be there, so, but anyway, so we're a potential site up there for those, so, so we'll see what comes of that. Anything else, Michael?
No, just that we did give them 4 to 5 sites to look at. And so they are evaluating and then coming up with their own as well. So we're hoping to hear back. We'd like to speed up this process significantly. There is a component of, from the bill that's come out, and I'm not sure if the governor signed it or not yet, there is some funding that possibly could be used for housing where we bypass FEMA. It may not be refundable, but it could be used for workforce housing in the future. And so we're trying to look at every avenue that we can get housing into this community.
This is the bill that the special session just passed?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, Michael, you said that you need everybody that was affected by the floods to go and apply. Is that applying with FEMA or somewhere else?
So, yes, with FEMA, and basically filing the application. So if their house was either totaled or if they can't live in their home because it's full of mud, we need them to go out, and we've been actively pushing it out on social media and every other avenue that we have to please register with FEMA for housing assistance so that we can identify how many homes we actually need and the people that actually qualify for that funding.
And does that include those who are renting? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yes, it does.
Okay. But what other questions you have for?
Yeah, the only other thing, Michael, is we're finding the same results. We've given out approximately 80 grants from the Realtor Relief Fund to people affected by the fire, and with 800 people total, see, we're getting a very small turnover, 10% or so. So you guys are seeing about the same thing. People aren't reaching out for help by filing the FEMA report and everything.
So what I think is happening, and this is just my 2 cents, it's not based on, it's tentatively based on data, I guess. But what we're seeing is that we believe that the majority of homes that were burned were actually secondary homes. We did a quick short-term rental assessment, and only 70, I say only, I mean there's 70 homes, but 70 homes were short-term rentals. I believe the rest are second homes, and then of that, we believe the others are those local residents that are in fact seeking help. So there should be around 200 to 220.
That's a better number than I was expecting, so, okay.
Now, when it comes to flooding, it's a whole different story.
Exactly.
What we're seeing with flooding is that there's probably a different community that's being impacted, a significantly different community with financial means, the ability of what they have, and then their trust in government and whether they feel comfortable going to government or not and asking for help. So we've actively engaged other volunteer groups to get into that community to try and assist them, to try and get them registered for assistance, because they do qualify for rental housing, especially because they're working within the community and doing other things in the community. But that's where we believe is the least number of people we're getting qualified, but that probably require the most assistance living.
Yep.
So, Michael, with that, since you brought up flooding, I heard the other day, and I actually talked to Representative Vincent about this yesterday, is because the governor's declaration is only related to the fires, there are certain things that are being limited to those affected by the floods, that they aren't receiving the same amount of assistance or aid that they would receive, that if it had been in the fire, just because the governor, when she issued it, the floods weren't an issue. And so, have you heard anything about this? And I think it even pertains to some of the insurance companies responding to the flood victims as well.
So I have not. And the main reason I don't think I have is because at the federal level, they've included flooding on the president's declaration.
Okay.
So it should be encompassed at the state level. And I will confirm that, but everything I am being told is that both the fire and the floods are encompassed in both the state and federal declarations of disaster.
So Harlan, this is James again. Harlan got us clarification this morning. We've been getting with the governor's aides and everything, trying to get this figured out. And so we did get a straight answer this morning, and it is true. The governor issued her initial emergency declaration on June 18th by the way of president, and then she revised it again on the 25th. The
Yes.
25th is the one that shall include flooding, is what they are saying at this time. So we passed it up to our people in Chicago and DC to look at it closer, because we're trying to get more grants as well. And but we did get cooperation today, and that if we're able to, if there is any questions or we need some more language, it sounded like the governor's office is open to taking care of it for us.
Okay.
Yes, and I think we've been having the same. I know we haven't had those discussions because we were under the impression that our initial amendments on the 25th handled all of that at both the federal and state levels. And so we think that we've been operating, at least from a staff perspective, state, federal, local, under the guise that everything falls under it, both flood and fire.
Well, it's my mother-in-law's house, and when she was talking to the adjuster, because hers is flood, there was some hesitation on the part of the insurance company to do something because it wasn't covered under the overall declaration, but I will make sure they know that now.
Yeah.
So.
We will. So we've been dealing with those concerns. We 100 push back and basically say no. This was covered under the disaster declaration on the 25th.
Okay, all right, that's good to know. Thank you.
Yes.
What else? Clayton, Nathan, you got anything online? Y'all been quiet up there.
Kind of nice for a change, huh, Todd?
I know.
No, I appreciate the feedback from Michael. You know, I think it's I think it's just disheartening. You know, I don't know. I'm not in a lot of the shoes of those folks, but to, you know, hang on for 4 or 5 months to be told, well, you're going to be in a, you know, a FEMA community at the hospital's land or whatever. That's amazing. President's even considering that, but it's just unfortunate because, as you mentioned, Michael, the clog is just so slow, and we're hearing chatter that we're losing quite a bit of those people, and they're just not going to be coming back in the community. And I think those numbers are going to be vastly different if we don't have something up and running. You know, 5 months. Obviously, this is more of a council, you know, thing as well. But it's just unfortunate from our perspective. I mean, I'm ready to prove whatever, because I'm like, man, if we don't get something quick, we're going to lose the bedrock of this community. And unfortunately, there's nothing else that can be done. So I'm thankful to your efforts, Michael, from your side, and, you know, Board of Realtors, Jim, you guys, I mean, everybody trying to push these from a national level. And it's like, man, we do not get something in 6 months. I don't even know what our community is going to look like. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah. Thank you, Nathan. Clayton, did you have anything you wanted to add? Did Clayton freeze?
No.
No.
Was that to me?
Yeah, I just asked if you had anything you wanted to add, so that was all.
Okay.
We're calling you out, Clayton.
I don't hear well to begin with, and it's kind of cloudy out here. But anyway, I'm sitting here wondering about a couple of things. Perhaps both of them are premature. First, I know that one will be premature, and that is the loss that we will experience in our workforce. At some point, we'll be able to look back and make an estimate, but I worry about that. And then the other thing is, what's going to be the loss to the tax base, to the village, to the schools, to the college? Do we have any idea of what valuations will look like if a property goes from property and improvements to just the property? Any estimates out there?
So what I can talk to is that we have been running numbers. Most of those are very tentative at the moment, but the discussions we've been having at the higher levels have been that we have a hold harmless clause, hopefully for the next 2 years in moving forward. And the reason we've done that is so that we don't see loss of revenue, one, as government entities, but two, that's also been a request for businesses. I know that wasn't tackled in special session, but I believe it will be tackled in the January legislative session. And I think they're trying to evaluate what that impact looks like. We've been documenting numbers, loss of homes, what that looks like from everything on our side of revenue, and obviously what that change will shift to now. We will probably see anything until after, or be able to really show the destructiveness of the disaster until probably November, just because we know that the losses we're taking now are coming from what our usual shoulder season is. And so, especially with the track moving their races to Albuquerque, us only being open part of the time. So we understand that there are significant impacts, but I think to put a number to it accurately, that won't happen probably for about another month or two, just because we are 2 months behind on what we record and what we submit. And so we won't really identify that gap component until later. We have an idea. Definitely a bad idea, but we want to hold off on saying anything, I think, until we get more solid data behind our assumptions.
Michael, when you explain to me, I guess I'm done. When you say hold harmless, what does that entail? What do you mean by that?
So the argument that we're making from a hold harmless perspective is basically that any of the revenue that would be a gap or that we wouldn't have collected moving forward over the course of the next couple of years would make us whole where we were at possibly last year or a couple of months ago moving forward. And so we as government entities and we as businesses will be able to see those same funds pouring in as revenue, and we won't skip a beat as far as having to adjust. So the hold harmless request has at least been discussed with Senate Finance. It's been discussed with some of our other elected officials to see whether that's language that they would include to hold us harmless and having to lose that revenue of what would have come in over the next year or two.
What's the impact on the property owner in that situation? Is there anything to them, or is that just a state function?
No, it's just a state filling the bill.
Okay. I will say at the county meeting last week, I don't know if it was the assessor or the treasurer, said by state statute, even if a home is burned, once the assessment has been done, they still have to pay the taxes on what the assessment was. So you probably knew that, but I don't know if y'all knew that or not. So, okay.
Don, I want to thank you for clarifying that, because I had heard that they had estimates somewhere like north of 30 million of lost tax revenue from a county level. Was that just chatter, or was there any like actual conversation about that with numbers, or was that just kind of a...
The part that I was at, they didn't go into that. The only thing I heard was just the treasurer's statement that they would not see a loss of revenue for this fiscal year because of state statute. So,
Okay.
So, but they might have discussed long range projection. I wasn't there for that. So,
Let me change that in January.
yeah. All right. Anybody else? Well, there's some really good news. It's kind of nice to hear some good news. But of course, there's devastating news, and we all know that too. So, just one side note, and I'm sure the village knows this. I guess the volunteer organizations probably, I guess their organizations prohibit them from helping out business owners. Mm-hmm. And so we have a lot of business owners that are mom and pop shops that have no help. I don't know if there's been any discussion.
SBA has a recovery program at the library.
Okay.
But is that anything other than a low-interest loan?
I have no idea
Yeah,
what
that's
that
what it
is.
is.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just,
sorry,
it's
what
just,
was the comment?
Well, but I just made the comment that, you know, the Baptist Relief and Samaritan's Purse and those that do, you know, are helping out the homeowners, I guess their organization prevents them from helping out business owners, and so.
That's correct.
So places
Yeah.
like, you know, anyway, y'all know which ones I'm talking
Right.
about that are just devastated.
From flooding.
They're getting no assistance at all at this
The
point, so.
community's helping at least, thank
Yeah.
God for that.
but we
So-
need,
So I think the only assistance that those business individuals qualify for, I think someone mentioned it, it sounded like Stephanie.
Yeah.
They are, small business loans. That is something that they can go into the library for, but they are loans. There isn't another, avenue for them, where they can, from the state level at least, where they can request, funds for cleanup. And so that is a significant area that we're trying to identify to figure out how to assist business owners.
yeah, if we could, because not only are they affected by the flooding and the cleanup, but they have lots of revenue, and there's a lot of businesses out there that are down 80% or more from last year, so they're really going to be affected, and if we can't get some grants or something, because they can't afford the loans, to help them out, we're gonna be losing a lot
Businesses out
of
there.
People
businesses.
that work for them.
Yeah,
Okay.
so,
And I don't know if the village qualifies for any grants for those businesses because we are a government entity. It may be private or nonprofit entities that are business oriented that would qualify, but I don't think that, I know we're trying to find some, but I honestly don't believe that it would be the village that would be able to assist with those kinds of grants.
right,
All right, like I said, that's not necessarily in our purview, but I just heard that and it was concerning.
Yeah,
too, Because
it's-
I know some of those really are what one person sole proprietor
it
situations.
is, yeah,
so.
it's very concerning.
Okay,
There was some football player yesterday handing out $10,000 to a few people. That was pretty nice. He was a pro football player.
Huh,
So that was cool.
well, I know a lot of businesses that need that help,
Yep. Some people got lucky yesterday.
yeah.
all right. Anything else, Michael, for the good of the
No,
group?
sir.
Anybody online have anything you want to bring up? Oh, all right, well, then, with nothing else to go over at this point, just know, Michael, I think this committee would want you to know that we are really, if you need to call us and have something done, we will respond immediately. This, I think we were in a crucial situation, we're in a critical situation, and we know
Yep.
that. And so, we're ready and willing to serve whatever the village needs, so,
No, that's greatly appreciated. Thank you all.
okay.
Thank you, Michael.
All right, with that being said, we will adjourn. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Michael.
When we drove by the other day, at your business, Mary Ann said, "Look at that air conditioner.